Singapore is a strange country. It has one of the best economies, some of the healthiest, happiest, and most educated people, and is one of the cleanest places in the world. But it also contains some of the strangest laws, which are enforced by archaic forms of corporal and capital punishment. However, it's the laws that helped make Singapore a first world country in the middle of the developing world, but at the expense of a few freedoms the rest of the world takes for granted. No singing. Keep your iPod at the hotel when visiting Singapore. The country has a ban on singing obscene songs in public. If caught, you could receive 3 years imprisonment. While we know obscene is subjective, the government defines it as any violent, salacious, or profane lyrics. This means that 90% of popular teen music would be outlawed, in case you're wondering why more rappers go play Singapore. When even Katy Perry is banned, Cardi B has no chance. Feeding pigeons. Feeding pigeons is banned because of the health risks the birds pose. Pigeons can spread harmful diseases. Their droppings are also harbingers of bacteria. Besides health concerns, the general filth that pigeons cause is not copacetic to Singapore clean freaks. Feeding the birds is a $500 fine, 130 of which were handed out in 2015 alone. Using Wi-Fi. Connecting to someone else's Wi-Fi, even if unlocked, is considered hacking, and the penalty is steep. In 2007, a 17-year-old boy was the first victim of the law. He was sentenced to 18 months probation for the offense of Wi-Fi tapping. 6 months of that was served in a boys' home. He was also ordered to perform 80 hours of community service. Worst of all, he was banned from using the internet for the entire 18-month sentence. Spitting. Like with the pigeons, it's known that spitting can spread disease and make the streets disgusting. Spitting is gross, and it's all too common in many countries. In Singapore, a first offense for spitting on the ground is a fine of $1,000. If you have to spit, it's recommended that you spit into a tissue and throw it in the garbage. Make sure you don't miss, or you'll be charged with the next crime. Littering. Littering is one of the worst offenses in clean-conscious Singapore. Since littering encompasses most cleanliness violations, it's much more prevalent and a lot harder to enforce. But the government still managed to hand out 31,000 tickets in 2016. The original punishment was compulsory cleaning of the area that you contaminated, but the stakes have since increased. A first fine is $2,000, and by the third, you're paying 10 grand. Being nude in your own house. So we can maybe understand some of the public laws because, while harsh, they improve society. But really, Singapore, you're saying we can't ditch the pants and be free in our own houses? That's right, in Singapore, it's illegal to walk around your house in the buff. Even with such a thing as curtains, the Singapore government thinks it's too risky, that someone might see you and be psychologically damaged. This could cost you a whopping $2,600. Graffiti. This isn't strictly a Singapore law, but the seriousness of the crime is unmatched in other countries. The first offense generally results in a fine, but the second will get you corporal punishment. That means caning. This has caused international tension that bordered on crisis. In 1994, an 18-year-old American was arrested in Singapore for spray painting cars. He was charged with 6 strokes from the cane, but after pressure from Bill Clinton, the government reduced it to 4. Cats. In Singapore, many people's favorite pet is banned from residential homes. The reason? Everything that annoys people about cats, but we look past because of their cuteness. They wander outside, shed fur everywhere, and urinate where they shouldn't. You'd be relieved to know that dogs are allowed, but they must be licensed. While that's good for dogs, we believe cat lives matter. Not flushing the toilet. This seems like common sense, and certainly a law regulating the action is superfluous. It's true, however, that if you are caught in Singapore using a public toilet and not flushing after, you will be fined $150. We're not sure who's hired to catch people in the act, but they definitely make parking enforcers look a lot more dignified. We're also not sure how often tickets are handed out, but depending on the person, a violator is slapped with either a shameful or hilarious story. Chewing gum. This is the big one, often the only thing Westerners know about Singapore. Well, that and caning. Being the OCD country, Singapore banned gum in 1992 after then-Senior Minister Lee observed the mess it made of the city. Selling is now punishable by $100,000 or 2 years in prison. In 2004, Singapore loosened the ban by legalizing nicotine and dental gum. So the act of chewing isn't illegal, but selling, smuggling, or spitting it somewhere, that's a caning.